Tonight the moon rises with a secret clenched in its golden fists, and my heart burns with a fire no ocean could tame. Tonight, you will see what loyalty costs, not the version painted in fairy tales, but the raw, bleeding truth. Loyalty is not a quiet word. It's a battlefield. It's the echo of vows kept in silence, the price paid in private. As Sheikh Hamdan, I have smiled through betrayals, bowed through storms, and stood unmoved while the world tried to shake my foundation. But tonight, I no longer whisper, I roar. I have protected those who stabbed me from behind. I have loved those who wouldn't even defend me in my absence. Loyalty, for me, has never been a fair exchange. It has always been a sacrifice. I gave my all to those who gave just enough to survive. And now, they ask why I change. I didn't. I just stopped bleeding for those who wouldn't even offer a bandage. Tonight, I lay bare the wounds they thought were buried. And in the truth of my pain, I find my strength. She once asked me, "Why do you keep forgiving?" I looked at her, not with pride, but with fatigue. Because loyalty is my language. I was raised to protect even those who test me, to carry burdens that aren't mine to lift. But tonight, I set them all down. I remove the mask, the smile, the unspoken understanding. No more nods of quiet tolerance. No more defending the undeserving. Tonight, I rise not in anger, but in clarity. The clarity of knowing who deserves the palace, and who only deserved the gate. I have loved with an open chest and stood beside people who wouldn't stand for me in return. I've made excuses for them, rewritten history to paint them in brighter light, all in the name of loyalty. But loyalty isn't blindness. Loyalty is love with teeth. And I've come to learn that sometimes the most loyal thing you can do is to walk away. Walk away from anything that eats at your soul, from people who clap when you fall, from lovers who love the idea of you but not the war inside you. Tonight, I burn the letters I never sent. The ones soaked in pain, stitched in heartbreak, sealed with a hope that they would change. Tonight, I no longer wait for apologies. I no longer explain myself to the undeserving. I have worn silence like armor, and now I let my voice rise like a storm. Let the winds carry my truth to every ear that ever doubted me. Let them know what it costs to be loyal in a world of convenience. Let them know that I bled, and still stood smiling. They called it arrogance when I protected my energy. They called it pride when I stopped chasing. But what they never saw were the nights I cried behind palace doors, the prayers whispered under moonlight, the weight of trust crushed in my hands. I gave without asking. I stood without questioning. I chose them, over and over. And now, tonight, I finally choose myself. Because even kings must heal, and even lions get tired of biting their tongues. Loyalty cost me sleep. It cost me time. It cost me dreams I delayed, emotions I buried, love I withheld from myself. I wore crowns made of thorns and still smiled for the sake of peace. But now the peace I crave is different. It's peace that doesn't require my suffering. Peace that doesn't demand my silence. And if loyalty means losing myself, then let tonight be the night I reclaim every piece they tried to break. Tonight isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. The truth will shine brighter than any gold I possess. And in that truth, some will fall. Not because I pushed them, but because their lies finally collapsed under their own weight. I have held back out of love. But love is not slavery. Love is not silence in the face of betrayal. Real love defends. Real loyalty stands tall, even when the world walks away. And I, Sheikh Hamdan, have stood long enough. To the one who swore to be there, tonight you will see that promises are not poems. They are responsibilities. You failed to carry me when I stumbled, but I carried you through every storm. You hid behind shadows while I bled in daylight. And still, I remained. But not anymore. You thought my loyalty was weakness. You thought my kindness was compliance. But tonight, you'll witness the strength it takes to let go. I may walk alone, but I walk with power. The kind of power born from pain, from lessons earned in silence. I don't hate you. I don't seek to shame you. But I will no longer shrink for you. I am not your echo, I am the voice. The voice that speaks for every soul who stayed loyal too long. For every heart that bled behind smiles. For every love that went unnoticed, unreturned, unspoken. Tonight, I speak for them. And for myself. They say loyalty is rare. But what they forget is that it's also dangerous. Dangerous when given to the wrong people. It can drain you, bend you, break you. And yet, we give it. Because we hope. Because we love. But the lesson is this: true loyalty begins with loyalty to yourself. And tonight, I begin again. I rise with new eyes, new strength, and a heart no longer afraid of being alone. Tonight, you will see what loyalty costs. Not in words, but in silence that no longer waits. In footsteps that no longer return. In poetry that no longer hides. This is not just a poem. This is a declaration. A new beginning wrapped in fire. And to those who truly know loyalty, may these words be a crown. But to those who only knew how to take, this is your farewell. I stood at the edge of my thoughts tonight, watching the ashes of my past loyalties settle into the winds. I thought of the nights I stayed awake for people who slept peacefully after betraying me. I thought of the moments I kept defending names that would never dare utter mine with honor. It hurt. But tonight, that hurt is not a weakness, it is a weapon. It reminds me of every time I swallowed truth to preserve peace, every time I smiled while holding my breath. No more. The price has been paid. The debt is closed. I gave them my loyalty like a sacred oath, thinking they would guard it the way I did. But they wore it like an accessory, taking it off when it no longer suited them. They knew I would never expose them. They knew my heart was built of mercy. But what they never knew was that even mercy has a limit.